Hello friends, as you already might be knowing that Hyundai is going to launch Venue with a iMT option where the iMT stands for an intelligent manual transmission, and in this video we are going to learn how an iMT works and what are its benefits. So when we talk about a vehicle fitted with an iMT transmission, it does have a clutch but it is inside the transmission. What it doesn't have is a clutch pedal in the driver's cabin. So when the driver want to shift the gears, the driver has to move the gear shifter or the gear knob, and the system will detect that the driver want to shift the gears and take control of the clutch engagement and disengagement by itself and enables the gear shifting. Now, when you look at the architecture of a IMT transmission, it is fitted with a position sensor. So the position sensor detects the position of the piston of the clutch master cylinder to know whether the clutches are engaged or disengaged, and also it is fitted with an engine RPM sensor which detects at what RPM the engine is running. So when I talk about IMT, it is not only controlling the shifting, or it is not only controlling the engagement or disengagement of the clutches, but it is also controlling the engine RPM so that the driver can have an enhanced performance and improved ride comfort. So in totality, how the system works to deliver enhanced performance, let's try to understand it with an example where the driver want to shift the gear from third gear to second gear. So here we will closely look what happens when the driver want to shift the gears, and for better understanding we'll compare it with a manual transmission. So in a automatic in a IMT, when the driver wants to change the gear, the driver start moving the gear knob, and when the system detects that the gear knob is moving, it disengages the gear, and then when the driver further moves the gear knob, the gear shift happens from third to second. Now what happens in a manual transmission is, before shifting the gear, the driver has to remove, or the driver has to release the acceleration pedal and then press the clutch and then shift the gear. So the moment driver release the acceleration pedal, the engine RPMs starts dropping. So in case a good driver is driving, so what he will do is he will release the acceleration pedal, press the clutch and shift the gear, and the moment the gear shift completes from third to second, the driver will start accelerating the engine RPM, or start pressing the accelerated pedal before engaging the clutch, so that the engine RPM can match to the desired vehicle speed, and after that he will start engaging the clutch, so that when the clutch are fully engaged, there is not much change in the engine RPM, and then you will not feel any shift shock. So that's why when a skilled driver is driving the vehicle, you will not feel any jerk or shock while shifting the gear. Now, the same case if an unskilled driver is driving, then usually what he will do is he will not press the accelerated pedal until he start engaging the clutch, or in other way he will start engaging the clutch and accelerating the engine RPM at the same time, and when that happens, when the clutch is fully engaged, you will see a sudden variation in the engine RPM and you will see a jerk. So since there is a delay in pressing the acceleration pedal, the engine RPM drops further, and then it increases from this point, and the clutch started engaging simultaneously at this point. So when it is engaged, there is a sudden change in the engine RPM, and that's where you will see a shift shock, which is shown over here. So in this graph, on the x-axis you have time, and on the y-axis you have longitudinal shock. So this is what you will see when an unskilled driver is driving, or in the system where there is no IMT. So what happens in an IMT? So in an IMT, as soon as the desired gear shift happens, in this case 32, the system will detect and start increasing the RPM of the engine. So before before the clutch engagement starts, the engine RPM will come to the desired vehicle speed, so that when the clutch engagement completes, there is not much change in the engine RPM, and since there is not much change in the engine RPM, there will be not much shock in an IMT. That's where you will get a improved comfort in an IMT. So this is so by looking at this graphs, you can easily understand how the shift happens in an IMT and why it is good. So with this, let's see what are the benefits of an IMT. So it has improved, it improves the startup performance. So like you can see over here, when an unskilled driver is driving or a system where there is no IMT, the engine RPM drops to a lower point, and then from here it start accelerating and there is a sudden dip. But here in case of an IMT, the engine RPM is already at the desired level. So in this case, what happens is you will get a very good re-acceleration performance after shifting the gear. So you can immediately see the pickup of the vehicle after shifting the gear. The re-acceleration performance improves with an IMT. It reduces the shift shock. Yes, you can see over here with an IMT there is a very low chances of shift shock. And the third is, since the IMT system is able to control the engine RPM, it improves the vehicle behavioral stability on slippery road. So since since the vehicle can manipulate the engine RPM, the chances of slipping or losing the vehicle stability on a slippery road is very less. So these are some of the benefits which I am expecting to see in the venue. Now, the shift behaviors and these benefits depends upon the algorithms which Hyundai is using in its car. So I'm really excited to see and explore the new car which they are going to launch in the month of July. Do let me know in the comment section what do you think about IMT and about this video, whether this video helped you in understanding what is the benefits of an IMT, and let's wait for the launch. Thank you everyone. Take care. Bye bye.